Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and it's Monday, December 23rd. It's my birthday today, and it's time to look ahead to Week 17, make some win-loss picks for every game. But just like always in this segment, we take a look at last week's record, tell you where I was right and where I was wrong, and I go 9-6 in Week 17, a winning record for sure, but assuming the Packers win tonight, I'm probably going to go 10-6. I doubt the Saints have a chance given their backup quarterback situation. But maybe I'm wrong. You guys agree with me, though. You guys are mainly picking Green Bay tonight, and odds are that will be the correct decision. So I go 9-6 in Week 16, and on the season, I am 150-89. That's a 63% win percentage. I'm hoping to have a maximum of 99 incorrect this season. Last year, we did have more than 100 incorrect. So I am getting a bit better, but this week we go 9-6. The games I got wrong were the Broncos game. I did think the Broncos, with their playoff hopes on the line, might beat their division rival, but it did not happen. The Chargers sweep them, and if the Broncos lose out, they will not make the playoffs. I am starting to feel that won't happen. So Denver losing was a bit of a shocker, but as a Charger fan, I'm not upset about it at all. I will accept being wrong on that. And then I also got the Bears-Lions game wrong. I mean, I kind of knew that wasn't going to happen. It was a bold decision, but let me live a little bit. You know, at this point, there's at least one reckless decision that I am bound to make. I can't help myself. I'm just always going to shoot myself in the foot with one of these picks, and I was hoping for an upset. Didn't happen. For the Bears to go 4-2 and now be sitting at 4-11 is pretty shocking to me. But at the end of the day, their coach wasn't even the play caller or offensive coordinator to start the season. He's in over his head. He's not equipped to beat a playoff team like Detroit. So wrong decision. I can live with it. Whatever. Bears lose. And then I also took the Commanders to lose, but that didn't happen. The Commanders did tough it out. The Eagles were not the right pick. The Eagles did lose, and maybe it was just Jalen Hurts' concussion, but I genuinely think that Daniels played well enough that even if Hurts was active, the Commanders would have won. It's not like Kenny Pickett didn't play well. They still scored 33 points. The Eagles had a chance. It just didn't happen. On defense, they had no answers for Jaden Daniels. So very impressive upset by the rookie. Jaden Daniels, clearly the rookie of the year. Then I was kind of looking strong until the last three games on Sunday. I missed on all three of them, and that's where this record kind of fell apart. The Raiders-Jags game, I didn't feel confident about it. I did take the Jaguars, and most of us agreed the Raiders at home, though, was the right pick, and I got that one wrong. But that game's pretty irrelevant. I can live on being wrong with that one. But then I also took the Niners to win on the road, and the Dolphins at home did take care of business. Brock Purdy had a terrible interception, and the Niners have a very interesting decision to make in regards to paying him next season. So we'll see what happens on that, but the Dolphins do get the win. The Niners officially a losing season after that Super Bowl appearance, a year from hell for San Francisco. And then last game on the week, I also took the Buccaneers, and a kind of a shocking upset here. The Cowboys did play well, especially on defense in the first half. They did get the dub in Dallas. So Cowboys, kind of an impressive, meaningless victory. They're vying for 9 wins. It won't get them into the playoffs, but still they have enough moxie in that locker room to not give up, not quit. Cowboys did play well on Sunday night. So kind of shocking, but that one was wrong. I have 6 incorrect this week, and the games I got right were as follows. The Chiefs over the Texans, as long as Mahomes was on the field, that was never in question, in my opinion. And then the Ravens over the Steelers, given it was a short week and all the injuries for the Steelers, the Ravens were kind of due for a win in division against their rival. Then the Falcons completely manhandled the Giants. Their defense really stepped up 34-7. That game wasn't even close. And then in Cincinnati, the Bengals defense finally showed up. The Bengals defense is not a unit I trust, but they held the Browns to only 6 points. Maybe that DTR offense is just that bad. Then the Colts completely ran over the Titans at home. The Colts and Jonathan Taylor had an easy victory in that one. Then I picked the Rams to win, and while it was kind of close in the first half, their offense still struggled to get going in the first two quarters. They did find a way in the fourth quarter. They got it done. The Rams won 19-9, and that one did go as expected. But I also took an upset with the Cardinals losing to the Panthers, and while it did require overtime, I was right about that. The Panthers finally got back in the win column. So they were kind of due for one at home in the cold. They beat Kyler, and the Cardinals are now eliminated from the playoffs. I was right to bet against Kyler in the cold temperatures across country, but maybe James Conner going down was kind of the difference. Trey McBride didn't play well at all. I also took the Vikings over the Seahawks, and only a field goal. I thought it'd be a wider margin, but still I was right about that one straight up. And then lastly, I also took the Bills over the Patriots, and while they were trailing in that game, at one point it was 14-0 in favor of New England. The Bills did tough it out in the third quarter. They got back on track, and they did get the win. The Bills won 24-21, a bit closer than expected, but still a win is a win. So that was my record this week. We'll hope to go 10-6 with the Packers winning tonight. And you guys agree, you guys are also on the side of Green Bay. Here are all the poll results for week 16. When it came to the favorites this week, the teams that you picked over 80% all won straight up. Those were all correct. The Bills, the Falcons, the Packers, the Bengals, the Lions, the Rams, the Colts, and the Vikings, you guys were all right about those ones. But as soon as the favorites had a margin of victory below 80%, that is where you guys messed up. There were 6 incorrect, just like I had, and the games wrong were the Eagles. That one was a big upset. The Bucks in a shocking upset for Dallas, and then a slightly shocking upset for Carolina. Not for me, but at least for y'all. And then you also got the Broncos game wrong, the Jaguars game wrong, and the Niners game wrong, but that one was the closest on the week. That Niners margin at the moment is 51-49. I believe it was 54-46 before the game kicked off. I believe retroactively after the fact, there have been some votes in favor of San Francisco, but I got the screenshot in time. You guys did pick San Francisco before that game happened. So 6 incorrect, 9-6 for y'all as well. We both have the same record, and while you did pick up a game with that Lions victory, I evened it out with that Cardinals loss. So that is the record, 9-6 on the season. Y'all are 165-74, and that win percentage is deadlocked at 69%. It's been like 3 weeks now. Y'all love this number. 69% is the accuracy for y'all this season. You are sticking put at that number. So those were all the audience polls, and then against the spread, I had a losing week again, 2-4, and that Vikings Bucks game did not go as I expected. The Vikings did win, but only by 3. That number was too big. And then the Bucks lost. I thought they would win by pretty much a touchdown over Dallas. So those two were really disappointing in my opinion, but I did take the Cardinals to lose, and that worked out. The Panthers plus 5.5 was correct. The Chiefs, I got this number when they were underdogs, and with Mahomes healthy, that one was easy money. But I also took the Broncos to cover. That didn't happen. The Bears I also thought would cover. That didn't happen either. And 2-4 is pretty brutal. It brings my overall record this season to 44, 43-1. The last 2 weeks I have had a very, very poor record. Nothing special at all. 2 weeks ago, 1-5 really put me in a hole against the spread. So this push that happened back in like week 4 or something, that's what's saving me from being exactly 500. I am 1 game above 500 technically. Technically, it's just a half game, actually. So nothing special. We'll see what happens next week. I hope to remain above 500, but maybe I've been humbled enough. Maybe I will retire this segment next year, knowing I am not good at doing this. 500 against the spread, nothing special at all. So that's it for the accuracy last week. I've owned up to my mistakes, and now let's look ahead what you came to this video for. Let's make some win-loss picks for week 17. Maybe because it's my birthday, I will have some better luck this time around. But on Wednesday, on Christmas Day, we have 2 games. The Steelers host the Chiefs, as well as the Texans hosting Baltimore. In both instances, I believe the road team will win, especially in Pittsburgh. I'm worried about their injuries on both offense and defense. They're not 100%, and without a full healthy defense, they're not going to be able to shut down Kansas City. You know that without Pickens, they'll have a hard time pushing the ball down the field. Maybe Russell Wilson plays really well, and I'm underestimating them. It's going to be an emotional game on Christmas Day in Pittsburgh, I'm sure it would mean a lot to the Steelers to get that win. I think it would mean more to them than it would mean to the Chiefs on the road. But the Chiefs lost last season on Christmas Day. I'm sure they don't want it to be a second season in a row. And I just think they're the better team. I'm going to go with Kansas City. I'm going to bet on Andy Reid. However, I am a bit worried about Chris Jones' status. He's probably the one player who could miss and possibly sway this in the other direction. So that's something to monitor. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe the Steelers at home is actually the right pick, but I'm pretty convinced that the Chiefs are going to go 16-1, get that number 1 seed, and I'm going to take them this week on the road at the Steelers. They can afford to lose this game and still get that 1 seed, but I don't think it happens. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I'm just going to bet on Andy Reid, but usually Mike Tomlin as a home underdog is usually the side. This week, though, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I just think they're the best team and destined to win the Super Bowl. I still think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. We'll see. I hope it doesn't happen, but this week, I think they beat Pittsburgh on the road. Then on Christmas, we have the Texans hosting Baltimore, and all 4 of these teams played on Saturday. No team has an advantage in terms of rest, but I'm going to go with Baltimore, especially indoors with no weather to account for. That Ravens offense is going to be deadly, especially if Justice Hill is available. I could envision them perhaps limiting Derrick Henry's exposure just a little bit, kind of saving him for the playoffs. At this point, Ravens really need the win, and I think they'll get it. I'm going to take the Ravens, especially with Tank Dell going down. That Texans offense is a bit too suspect. Their O-line is depleted, not playing the same this season, even when healthy. And the Ravens defense has played a little bit better lately. I do trust them more than the Texans. I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think Lamar will get the win. Just like last year in the playoffs, I trust the Ravens as the better team here. Give me Baltimore over Houston. Then on Thursday, we have the Bears hosting Seattle, and I'm done betting on Chicago. I thought maybe they would win at least one, like 10 losses in a row is pretty insane. But if they lose this week, it's potentially going to be 11 in a row when they lose to the Packers. I think it happens. I think they're going to start off 4-2, finish 4-13, probably one of the biggest collapses we've ever seen from a team in the NFL in recent history. So just a terrible year for Chicago, and it gets worse here. The Seahawks get the win on the road. I'm going to trust Mike McDonald, Geno Smith, JSN, and Kenneth Walker. The Bears don't have the coach that I'm willing to trust in this one. Give me the Seahawks. I'm done betting on the underdog Bears to get the win. So I'll take the road team once again. On Thursday, I'll take the Seattle Seahawks over Chicago. On Saturday, we have another 3-game slate here. And in the morning in New England, we have the Chargers coming to town, and I'm definitely going with the Chargers. I trust them. They've been beating every non-playoff opponent this season, and I think it keeps up. I do think they win over the Patriots and get to that 10th win, punch their ticket into the playoff picture. I think they will be the 6th seed, and I do think they'll be traveling to Baltimore. We get another horrible, most likely, in the playoffs, and Chargers winning this week will secure that spot. Give me the Chargers on the road. They're going to beat another non-playoff losing team. Then we have the Bengals hosting the Broncos in what is essentially a playoff game, in my opinion. The Bengals have been in win-or-go-home mode for several weeks now, and I think it definitely helps them. The Broncos may not have the sense of urgency that compares to the Bengals and Joe Burrow. So the Bengals have to win not just this game, but the one after to have any chance. However, if they beat Denver, it opens the tiebreaker. The Broncos would have to beat Kansas City the week after in order to maintain their spot in the playoffs. So I think it's going to happen. I think the Bengals are actually going to catch them, and this game is going to open that door. Give me Cincinnati over Denver. Maybe the Broncos defense actually can stop them, but that injury to Riley Moss in the secondary, their second best corner, is a major factor here, and if he's not healthy enough to play, I can't envision Patrick Surtain locking up both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. One of them will be open on every play next week. So I'm going to trust the Bengals offense. While their defense isn't safe to bet on, they did play a lot better last week, and this game is at home. It'll be raining, and I'm going to go with the Bengals. I'm going to trust Joe Burrow. Just too good of an offense, too much firepower for Bo Nix to keep up with. So while the story's pretty fun with Denver, it's been a very shocking, better than we expected season. I think it is kind of the end of the road. I do not trust Bo Nix to actually beat Joe Burrow. So Nix won't make the playoffs here. I think he loses to the Bengals this week, then the Chiefs the week after, and at 9-8, the Bengals will have the tiebreaker. The Bengals will bounce Denver after they beat the Steelers next week after this win. Give me Cincinnati over Denver. Then in LA on Saturday, the Rams host the Cardinals, and there are potential playoff implications here, but after the Cardinals lost last week, it's pretty much kind of sealed. The Cardinals have no shot, and even if the Rams lose, I still think they would have the tiebreaker if they beat the Seahawks the week after. So I think the Rams are just going to win both of them. I think the Rams are going to keep rolling. They started off 1-4, and now they're only 9-6. I think they're going to finish 11-6 and win the playoff picture. The Rams will get that home playoff game. So the Rams win here. The Cardinals just don't have enough. And while the Rams don't have Aaron Donald, that's been a big problem for the Cardinals and Kyler Murray historically, Jared Verse can still give him nightmares. I'm going to take the Rams and their young defense to get it done. I do not trust the Cardinals. They lost to the Panthers. I think they'll lose to LA on the road as well. On Sunday in Buffalo, we have the Bills hosting the Jets, and sometimes in division, weird things happen here. The Patriots almost upset Buffalo last week, but an almost doesn't count, and it'll probably be the same thing. The Jets might play well, but at the end, even if they have a lead in the third quarter, it will not be enough. The Bills will power back, and odds are they probably have the lead from the beginning. So I'm not going to bet against them. I'm going to take Buffalo. There's still a slight chance they can get that number 1 seed. And while it probably doesn't happen, I still think they beat the Jets and keep the momentum rolling. They need to stay hot. I would hate to see them lose in the playoffs in the first round. So Buffalo gets the win here. Josh Allen might not be 100% healthy, and weather will be a factor, but I do trust Buffalo. They're definitely the better team than the Jets. Give me the Bills over New York. That's probably one of the more obvious picks on the week. Then in New Orleans, kind of a toss-up here, pretty irrelevant game between bottom feeders. It is a fair fight, though, so this one could go either way, and I don't feel too confident picking either direction in this one. The Vegas Raiders travel to New Orleans to face off against the Saints, and I'm really hoping that Derek Carr is healthy enough to play because he has a chance to make history. He's lost to a record holding 31 different NFL teams, and if he plays and loses to the Raiders, it will be all 32. There will never be a quarterback that can beat this record that Derek Carr could hold with a loss this week against Las Vegas. So let's hope for that. I'm hoping that Carr is active and loses. If it does happen, that would be kind of funny. So that's really the only thing that's pointing me towards picking Las Vegas, my desire to watch Derek Carr lose. But odds are he doesn't even play, and maybe it does go in favor of the Saints. But given Kamara's not available, they have so many injuries, I'm going to go with Las Vegas. I think Aiden O'Connell is hungry for some wins, and with Amir Abdullah and Brock Bowers stepping up, let's go with the Raiders. It's a bit more entertaining of a team at the moment, and I'm willing to bet on them. Even on the road, give me the Raiders over the Saints, but maybe I'm wrong. I could envision being very inaccurate on this one. I kind of don't care, though. If I'm wrong, so be it. Give me the Raiders, hopefully beating Derek Carr and making history. Then in New Jersey at MetLife, the Giants are going to host the Colts, and the Giants' run defense is atrocious. We saw Jonathan Taylor torch the Titans last week, and I think it happens again. I'm going to trust Jonathan Taylor to run all over the Giants once again. So definitely taking the Colts here. The Giants might have to start Tommy DeVito instead of Drew Lock, but no matter who it is, they are a terrible team. They have no shot to win here. I'm going to take the Colts. I trust their roster a bit more. The Giants are so depleted with injuries on defense themselves. So give me Indianapolis. I'm going to trust Taylor to get the dub. He will carry them to victory. They're not going to ask Richardson to throw it more than 20 times. I trust Taylor in this one. In Philadelphia, the Eagles are hosting Dallas, and maybe there's a shot at another upset, just like last week against Washington. But if Jalen Hurts gets the start and finishes the game, I'm going to trust that he gets the dub, and I think that's probably what the difference was last week for the Eagles. But the Cowboys are on a bit of a hot streak. Their defense is really stepping up, and maybe on the road this game means enough for them to pull an upset once more. But I really doubt it. I don't think they're a better team than Philadelphia. And I'm going to trust the roster, trust that Saquon runs all over the Cowboys. And at home, I will be picking Philadelphia. I'm not going to take Dallas over the Eagles. So Eagles still have a chance at the 1 seed. At this point, they may have lost it after the loss to the Commanders, but still with that opportunity still looming, I think they play very well. I'm going to take Philadelphia. However, if Kenny Pickett is the starter, then I will probably switch my pick. I wouldn't trust Philadelphia anywhere near as much if Pickett does get the start at quarterback. But for now, I'm expecting Hurts to be active. I'm going to take the Eagles. I still think they're better than the Cowboys. Then the Buccaneers, after an embarrassing loss to Dallas, I think will bounce back at home especially. They should beat Carolina. They beat them in overtime, but that game was on the road. And Mike Evans usually torches the Panthers every single time he faces them, especially when it's a home game in Tampa Bay. So I'm going to expect that to repeat. I'm going to trust Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans in this matchup, and I'm not going to bet on the Panthers to win 2 in a row. I'm also not going to bet on the Bucs to lose 2 in a row themselves, given the playoff picture is on the line. They need to win out in order to get that division tiebreaker over the Falcons. So give me the Bucs here. I definitely think they're the better team, and last week's upset was kind of shocking. I don't think it happens again. Give me Tampa. I'm going to bet on Baker at home. Then in Jacksonville, a pretty irrelevant game, but last time we saw this division rivalry happen, it was in Tennessee, and the Jaguars got the dub. So I'm going to pick them again. I'm going to take the Jaguars to win here at home with Brian Thomas. Maybe I'm wrong. I really have no strong conviction on this one. It's pretty irrelevant for playoff seeding. It's just who gets the better draft pick at the end of the day. But I'm going to take the home team. Give me Jacksonville. I think they have the best player on the field, and that would be Brian Thomas Jr. I think he leads them to victory in this matchup. Give me the Jaguars at home over the Titans. In division, I think they sweep them this year. Then in Cleveland, the Browns are hosting the Dolphins, and I want to take Miami, but I'm always going to make one reckless decision, and this week I am giving myself the green light to call upset. I'm going to go with Cleveland only because of the weather. We know that Tua has a hard time throwing the ball through the wind, and the wind is going to be close to 20 miles per hour in this matchup. That's at least the forecast a week in advance, and maybe it slows down by the time we hit Sunday. Maybe weather's not a factor at all, but usually this time of year, Cleveland has a very strong wind potential, and I could see that really limiting the passing game of the Dolphins. They're not the same team on the road as they are at home, and while they did beat San Francisco, they're a pretty average, mediocre team this season, and the Browns are capable of beating other mediocre average teams. So I'm going to take the Browns. While maybe the DTR offense is that terrible, I kind of just see a very low scoring game in general, and I can envision a fluke defensive touchdown that does help out the Browns a lot. They're playing at home. I think that matters. And because of the win, I'm willing to downgrade the Dolphins offense enough. I'm going to have some fun here. I'm going to take the Browns. It feels misguided. Could definitely go the other way, but let's have some fun here. Let's take the Browns in the wind with an upset to end the season for Miami on a sour note. Give me the Browns at home to get the dub over the Dolphins. And then in Minnesota, the Vikings are hosting Green Bay in what is definitely the game of the week. The NFL only scheduled 2 games in the afternoon, and the other one is that Browns-Dolphins game. So I would imagine 90% of the audience on Sunday afternoon will be watching this Vikings-Packers game, and it's going to be a close one. The Packers can definitely beat them even on the road, but they did lose earlier this season to the Vikings, and that game was the first game where Love came back after his early injury back at the beginning of the year. So maybe it goes in favor of the Packers this time, but given the Vikings are still viable for the 1 seed and the division, they need this win pretty desperately. So I think they are on their P's and Q's. I think they're very sharp, and we have seen Sam Darnold play elite football at home indoors in Minnesota. So I'm going to bet on that to continue. It's kind of a short week for the Packers as well, and they have to travel. It's not an environment you want to play in. The Vikings' home field advantage is massive. I'm going to take the home team. Skol Mighty Vikings. Let's pick them here. I think they win the division. I think they win against Detroit the week after and finish 15-2. The Vikings are my pick to have the number 1 seed in the NFC and get that playoff bye. I think the Vikings win this week and next week in division against the Packers and then the Lions. Give me a win here over Green Bay. Packers are still a very tough team to beat, and even after a loss in this game, I would hate to match up against them in the playoffs. The Packers can upset anyone in a tournament win or go home setting. I would really be afraid of Green Bay in the playoffs. But for now, I'm going to take the Vikings in the regular season at home. Give me Minnesota over the Packers. And then in Washington on Sunday Night Football, a very interesting game. There's actually some playoff implications here for both teams. If the Commanders lose in this matchup and to the Cowboys the week after, then the Falcons, if they win out, even if they don't win the division, can hold the tiebreaker and beat them for that 7 seed. However, with Washington winning last week, it's very unlikely that all happens. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and I'm not convinced it actually does occur. So I'm not going to bet on that to happen. I think after last week, you have to trust Jane Daniels and the Commanders. We have 2 rookie quarterbacks here, and I definitely trust Daniels this season a lot more than Michael Penix. I have not seen enough from Penix to trust him in this spot. So especially given they're at home on Sunday night in prime time, I think the Commanders are clearly the pick, and I'm going to take them to get the dub. Give me Washington over Atlanta. Michael Penix is a interesting story, but I'm not convinced he has what it takes yet to beat Jaden Daniels. Give me the Commanders over the Falcons. I think the Falcons will miss the playoffs entirely. This loss opens the door back up for Tampa, and it relinquishes any chance to have a tiebreaker over Washington for the 7 seed. So nope, not going to happen. The Falcons miss the playoffs this year. The Commanders win on Sunday night. And then the last game of the week on Monday, the Lions are traveling to San Francisco. They play the Niners in a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. And we thought this game would be a lot more interesting heading into the season, but the Niners' terrible year means it kind of is irrelevant, at least for San Francisco. Maybe they want to play spoiler. Maybe they can beat the Detroit Lions in an upset, but I'm not going to bet on that to happen. I think the Lions will try and lock up their own fate, seal their own destiny, and get the win. I still think they have a shot to be that number 1 seed. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they do lose to the Vikings the week after, but if they lose here to the Niners, then they have no shot at all to get the 1 seed. So I'm going to take Detroit. I'm going to take the road team here, and despite their injuries on defense, I just haven't seen enough from the Niners in general to trust. Without McCaffrey, they're just not the same team, and odds are Debo goes back to shitting the bed. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's an upset looming. It's still possible, but I'm going to bet against it. I'm going to go with the Lions. They're definitely better than the Niners this season. So those are my win-loss picks this week. I'm going with the Chiefs on the road on Christmas Day over the Steelers. I'm also taking the Ravens on the road over the Texans on Christmas. And then on Thursday, give me the Seahawks on the road as well. Chicago will not win another game. Then on Saturday, we're taking the Chargers to lock up their playoff spot with a win at the Patriots. And then in Cincinnati, the Bengals keep their playoff hopes alive, and they open the door, get the tiebreaker over the Broncos with the win straight up on Saturday. In LA, the Rams keep rolling. They beat the Cardinals at home. And then on Sunday, the Bills definitely beat the Jets. The Jets have no shot. But then in New Orleans, a true toss-up in my opinion, I'm going to go with the road team. Give me the Raiders over the Saints. I think the Saints' injuries are too much to overcome. Then in New York, the Giants are going to lose to the Colts. Jonathan Taylor going to dominate in that one. And then in Philly, maybe an upset, but I'm going to bet against that. Give me the Eagles to keep rolling. Eagles beat Dallas. Then in Tampa, they're desperate for that playoff spot. They need to win out. Give me the Buccaneers over the Carolina Panthers. And then in Jacksonville, a bit of a toss-up, but I'll take the home team. The Jaguars beat the Titans. Then in Cleveland, it might not happen, but the wind could sway it in their favor. Some weird shit's going to go down. Give me the Browns in an upset over the Dolphins. Then in Minnesota, a game that might decide the division and the conference, but give me the Vikings over the Packers. Then on Sunday night, the Commanders lock up their playoff spot. The Commanders win and probably bounce Atlanta out of the playoff picture. Then lastly, on Monday, the Lions travel to San Francisco and get the dub. The Lions on the road will beat the 49ers. So those are all of my picks this week, all 16 games. And then I also curate 6 picks against the spread. But as I mentioned, I am barely 500 this season. Don't trust me, but these are my calls. I'm going with the Cowboys plus 10.5 in division. That game probably is closer than like a true blowout, and 10.5 points is just too much. That extra half point is enough for me to bet on Dallas. Maybe they lose by a full 2 touchdowns, but I can't envision that happening, especially if Kenny Pickett is the starter. With that as a possibility, I'm going to trust the Cowboys to at least cover. I think maybe they lose by a full touchdown, but maybe if even by 10 points, but not more than 11. I think the Cowboys will keep it under double digits. Cowboys plus 10.5. It's just way too many points for a road divisional rival to be getting. Give me the Cowboys plus 10.5. Then the Browns get some help from the wind. The weather's going to be a factor, so maybe I'm really that dumb in betting on DTR, but fuck it, let's have some fun here. Give me the Browns plus 6.5. I'm willing to call upset, but at worst, I think it will be a game where the underdog does cover. 6.5 points is a substantial number to bet on. But then we have the Falcons plus 4. I think given all the playoff implications on the line, Falcons going to play very tough. I think Bijan really contributes, and it will only come down to a field goal, not a touchdown. Give me the Falcons plus 4. I don't feel great about it, but let's have some fun here. Give me the Falcons in a very important playoff game to cover the spread, but not win straight up. Then that Raiders-Saints game, I really have no idea. Maybe it's a dumb decision to bet on it, but fuck it. Let's take the Raiders plus 2. I think on the road, they will get the dub. I do not trust the backup quarterback situation and all the injuries with New Orleans. But then the Vikings are going to host the Packers, and that number's pretty close. 1.5 points. I'm willing to bet on the team I think will just win straight up. Give me the Vikings probably winning by a full field goal. I doubt it's just a 1-point margin of victory. Give me Minnesota minus 1.5. Maybe I get screwed there given that extra half point. But lastly, I'm taking the Lions to win by, I think, a touchdown. I think their offense will not be stopped at all. The Niners with Brandon Staley as the defensive coordinator, not going to have enough answers. I think the Niners are ready to go to Cancun. Give me the Lions minus 3.5. So those are the 6 picks. Give me the Cowboys plus 10.5, the Browns plus 6.5, the Falcons plus 4, and the Raiders plus 2, the Vikings minus 1.5, and the Lions minus 3.5. So 4 underdogs, I think will cover. Only one of them, though, I think will win straight up. And then 2 favorites, I think will win comfortably enough to cover the spread themselves. The Cowboys, Browns, Falcons, Raiders, Vikings, and Lions are my picks against the spread this week on Monday. So that's it for the video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you made it to the end of the video, if you've been watching all season long and you have yet to subscribe, give me that subscription. It's my birthday. I think I've earned it. If you've watched this far into the video, why are you not subscribed yet? So do me a favor, hit that button for me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.